Okay, here's a problem that I very often encounter. I've got a set of gauges set up here and I want to put some kind of conditional formatting on these gauges. I want them to go red if the percentage attendance is below a certain value, amber if it's between two other values, and green if it's above another value. Now I could, and I'm sure you're all aware of this, but I could, if I wanted to, click on each one of these grids individually. Go into the formatting tab here, look at data colours, and I could set a rule. So I could use the little FX button there, click on that FX button, and it comes up with various different ways for us to select the colour that should displaying. And for example, I can say that if the value is greater than or equal to 95%, for example, and less than 1, or less than or equal to 1, then it should go green. Otherwise, we could say if it's less than 0.95, or rather greater than 0 and less than 0.95, we can make this go red. And if I click on OK now, that rule will get applied and everything's gone red for that one. But I have to repeat this for every single visualization on the page. And that's okay, but if somebody then decides that that colour isn't quite the right shade of red, or we need to introduce another colour, then I've got to go back and do it for every single visualization. So there is a better way, and that's what this video will show you. Now, before we can use the DAX programming language to tell Power BI what colours to paint those data points on the graph, we've got to be able to express the colours we want as a hexadecimal code. And the best place to find out what hexadecimal codes you want your colours to be is to do a search on Google just for RGB colours. Will do fine, or RGB colour names. And there are a lot of sites online that will show you what the colours are and what their corresponding hexadecimal codes are. For example, here's this one here. And if we scroll down, we've got here the actual colours. We've got their HTML/CSS name, and we've also got the hex code name. Now, actually, we can use the colour name that's in plain English here in Power BI, or you can use the hex codes, but for legibility I think I'm going to choose to use the plain English codes, and all I'm going to do is make a note of the colours that I want to use on my traffic lights for my conditional formatting. So I'm going to use the colour that's called red, nice and straightforward. So I'm picking red there, and that should display as this shade. There's one there called orange red here. So I'll just make a note of orange red. And there's a green down here called lawn green. That looks like a good green to use. As I say, you can make a note of the hex codes here, because Power BI does understand hex codes as well, but I prefer to work in English, so I'll just make a note of the colour names. So once we've done that, it's back into Power BI. And here we are back in Power BI. And what we do next is we create a new measure that applies the conditional formatting. So I'm going to put my measure in my existing pupil measures table here. So I'm going to click the 3 dots next to pupil measures, click on new measure. And we get the edit box here. So I need to, first of all, like with any DAX measure, I need to give it a name. I'm going to call this attendance traffic lights, because it's a red, amber, green sort of approach. And we use here the switch command. The switch command, which is such a very useful command for addressing any problem that has a nested if then else kind of approach. So we'll start off the switch command like that. I'm going to move on to the next line because this is a long command, and if we try and put everything on one line, it's very difficult to interpret. So I'll go on to the next line. This is a shift and enter, which takes me on to the next line. It's automatically indented it. And then the format of the switch command means that we have to have an expression at the start. And the expression at the start is just going to be the true expression, which is a default value, if you like, that just enables us to use a line-by-line approach in the code that comes underneath. So I'll just type in the word true here. And I've just pressed the tab button there so that IntelliSense automatically starts and closes the brackets. And then another shift and enter to move on to the next line. This particular conditional formatting command is going to be based on graphs that are basically using another measure to display the actual data. The measure I have in mind here is a percentage attendance year-to-date measure that I've already set up. It's a straightforward, ordinary year-to-date percentage attendance measure, just dividing the total number of present sessions by the total number of possible sessions. So it's just a simple divide command. But I'm going to use it on each line here so that the expression will test for the various conditions against this measure and apply a colour depending on which test is true. So I'm first of all going to start off with the name of my measure. And I've just realised there I should have put a comma after the true command. So apologies there, put a comma after the true command, shift and enter onto the next line. My measure is called percentage attendance year-to-date measure. I'll tab that. And then I need to put a logical test in there. Well, I'm going to say if it's greater than or equal to 95%. Now 95% is expressed internally as 0.95. So I'll write it as 0.95. And a comma. And then we move on to the result. So if this test is true, what's the result of this measure? Well, the result of this measure should just be the colour lawn green. So I'm going to open a set of quotes here and just type the word lawn green exactly as we saw it written on that website. We have to get the right text here in the right case. So that's the first condition. Another comma. And you see we move on to value 2. Shift and enter to move on to the next line. And then the same measure yet again. Percentage attendance year to date. And then we're going to say, well, if it's greater than or equal to 90%, 0.90, then we want the orange-red colour. So highlight, quotes and the word orange-red. Another comma, another line, and finally, yet again, we've got the final one. And for the final line here, I'm going to say, well, if it's less than 90%, i.e. 0.9, in that case, I want it red. And that's it. No need to put a final comma there. That's the last line, so there's no need for a final comma there. All we need to do, I'm going to go into the next line. To do it is finish off the brackets with a closing round bracket like that. So we now have a measure called attendance traffic lights. Click the tick button there so that it checks it for spelling mistakes. And now we should be able to use it. Here we are, back at our original visualization, and back in the formatting tab, and you can see that there is the FX button, which currently means that we have some conditional formatting on there, but this is the manual one that I applied. So I'm going to get rid of that. Click on the little eraser button there. Now I can click on FX again, and this time we can format by and click on field value. So instead of rules, we're going to click on field value. And the format of this visualization is going to be based on the field that is the attendance traffic lights measure we just created. So if you remember, we put that in pupil measures, and in here somewhere should be our attendance traffic lights measure. So I'll click on that and click on OK. And now you can see the attendance there is 90.04, so that's the orange-red colour that it's showing there. And now to apply this to the next visualization here. It's just a matter of repeating the process. So formatted on field values based on field. And we just need to find traffic lights in here. I think we can actually start typing the word there. Oops. There we go. So that's red. And then let's just do it one more time. You'll get the idea, I'm quite sure, once we've done this. So again, I'll take the existing fill off, put a new one on, based on a field value. Where the field value is, I can search for traffic lights. Oops. Click OK. And there we go. Now, if in the future I decide that the amber colour there is a little bit too close to the red to give proper differentiation, it's really easy and really straightforward. I only have to change that word orange red to whatever colour I would prefer to see there, and then instantly every single visualization will be updated. So that's how you can convert from manually doing your conditional formatting to doing it through a measure and save yourself a lot of time. Thanks for listening. If you get a chance, press the subscribe button and then you get updates when I post another Power BI tip for schools. Thank you.